Good morning children. I hope you all are fine and safe at home. This is Jyoti Nahar representing Shiv Jyoti Educational Group, Kota. And today we are going to do chapter number 14 part 2, that is water. In our video part 1, we have covered the topics water, sources of water, occurrence of water and underground and surface water we had discussed. Now, in this video part 2, we are going to discuss the topics water cycle, the back to the oceans, what happens if it rains heavily and what happens if it does not rain heavily, conservation of water. In that we are going to do rainwater harvesting. So children, open your books to page number 201 and we will start with our first topic, that is water cycle. You know children that water, it constantly keeps moving from the earth to the atmosphere and back again from the atmosphere to the earth. This constant circulation of water from the earth to the atmosphere and back again from the atmosphere to the earth, this circulation is known as water cycle. Now, what are the steps that are involved in water cycle? The different processes of water cycle are evaporation, condensation, precipitation and the last one is collection. Now, let us understand these topics terms first. First one, what is evaporation? We know children that evaporation is the process of conversion of water into its vapor form. When we heat water, the water converts into vapor form, means into gaseous form. So, this conversion of water into water vapors is known as evaporation. And the next process, that is transpiration. A new term, transpiration, means that plants, you all know that they take in water from the soil. Water is absorbed by the root hairs and this water is used by the plants to make food. It is passed to the leaves and the leaves, they prepare their food with the help of water by the process of photosynthesis, and some part of the water is released into the air as water vapors. Through stomata, these water vapors are released into the air. So, this process of the loss of water from the surface of leaf by the stomata is known as transpiration. The leaves, they lose water in the form of water vapors. So, this process is called transpiration. So, in this way water vapors are added into the atmosphere. The next term, that is evaporation and transpiration, these two processes, both these processes, they involve water vapors which are transferred into the air. The next term that we have here is condensation. Now, what is condensation? Condensation is the conversion of water vapors into water on cooling. This is a process when water vapors convert into water on cooling and this process is known as condensation. We can understand condensation by a simple activity. You can take a glass half filled with water and we need to wipe the glass from the outside clearly. And now what are we going to do is add some ice cubes into water. When we add some ice cubes to the water, what happens? What will you notice? You will notice that some water droplets are collected on the outer surface of the glass. Where did these water droplets come from? This is the process of condensation. What happened? The cold surface of the glass containing ice water cools the air around it. This glass is containing cold water inside and the air around it is warm, but the surface of the glass cools the air which is just near to the surface of the glass, and as a result when the water vapors present near the glass surface, they are cooled, they convert into water vapours, and these water, when they condense, they condense on the outer surface of the glass in the form of water droplets. So, this is the process of condensation where water vapours convert into water droplets on cooling. So, this is the process of condensation. Next is how these processes, they are involved in a water cycle, means what is the story of raindrops, we are going to study over here. Firstly, by the process of evaporation and transpiration, water vapours are added into the atmosphere. You can see, children, by the process of evaporation here from the water bodies, oceans, lakes and seas, water keeps evaporating by the heat of the sun, and by the process of transpiration, that is plants, they are losing water vapours into the atmosphere. So, atmosphere is being laden with water vapours. Now, when the air moves up, means this air which is laden with water vapours, when these water vapours, they are added into the atmosphere, these water vapours, they tend to rise up. But we know that as we move at higher altitudes, the temperature lowers down, the temperature is less at higher altitudes, means it gets cooler and cooler. So, when water vapours, they are present in the air, and when they are cooled, they condense to form tiny droplets, and these tiny droplets, they combine to form clouds. So, by the process of condensation, you can see the clouds forming. What are these clouds? These clouds are a combination of water droplets which are formed by the process of condensation. So, these water droplets, when they are in the form of clouds, when they become too heavy to be carried, they fall to the ground in the form of precipitation, or we can call as they come back to the ground as rain, hail or snow. So, in this way we have completed the water cycle, means we have completed 4 processes over here. So, let us discuss how this happens. Discuss water cycle, what are the processes and how do they take place in nature. See, first, from the water bodies, the water is evaporating, means the first process that is taking place is evaporation. Evaporation of water takes place. These water vapours, they rise in the atmosphere and they form clouds due to condensation. So, what is the second process that is going on here? First one was evaporation. Second process, condensation. And when these clouds, they become too heavy by the water vapours that they are carrying, these water vapours come down in the form of rain, and this is the third process, third activity that is taking place, that is precipitation. And again the water is collected back in the water bodies. So, this completes a cycle in which first evaporation takes place, second process condensation, and the third one by the precipitation we complete the cycle, that means water is again collected back in the water bodies. So, this is a continuous cycle by which water is transferred from the earth to the atmosphere and back again from the atmosphere to the earth. So, this is a constant cycle which is known as water cycle. Now, children, this rain, after coming to the ground, where does this rain water go? Let us study about this. This rainwater or snow, when it comes in the form of snow, this snow, it accumulates in the mountains, and when the snow melts, it comes in the it converts into water which runs through the mountains in the form of streams and rivers. Means the ice melts and they come in the form of water in the rivers and streams. Apart from this, rainwater also flows into ponds and lakes, and some of the rainwater immediately evaporates back into the atmosphere, and again the cycle starts. But some rainwater passes through the soil into the non-porous rocks, and beneath the earth it is found as groundwater. We have studied about groundwater in a earlier video, in a previous video. Groundwater is the water which is accumulated on non-porous rocks, in the spaces in the rocks. So, some of the water, it seeps into the ground and it is found as groundwater. So, this is where the water goes. So, our next topic is flood and drought. Now, we are going to study first about floods. Now, what is floods, children? When it rains heavily, it causes a massive attack or damage to property and people, and this heavy rainfall, or when it causes damage to the property and people, it is known as floods. Sometimes these heavy rains, they lead to a rise in the level of water in the rivers, lakes and ponds, and the excess water, this spreads over a large area causing floods, and these floods, they cause a massive damage to crops, to domestic animals and to properties even. Many people, they are not able to survive in this massive condition. Crops, they die out. Even the domestic animals, they are not able to survive. So, this condition is known as floods when there is water all around. So, we have a case study over here on page number 203, children, where we are given when a flood in Jammu Kashmir, it created a havoc, and it was unprecedented rains, means rains that never happened before, means ऐसी रेन कभी पहले नहीं हुई. तो इतनी रेन, it happened in 2014 in Jammu and Kashmir, and that caused a very big damage, or a devastated damage was caused in Jammu and Kashmir. Secondly, in Tamil Nadu, when tsunami came on 24th December 2004, in that also thousands of people died, and there was a property loss, a great property loss also was also there, and many people, thousands, lakhs of people had to be evacuated, means they had to be transferred from there to the other places where they were safe. Now, children, we have our second internal question on page number 203. What are the adverse effects of flood? You will find the answer on the same page, that is 203. The effects of floods are given in points. There are 7 points: diseases, starvation. Starvation means to perish from lack of food. When there is scarcity of food, people, they start dying, and that is starvation. Loss of residential buildings and property, when there is water all around, so there is a great loss to property and buildings. And loss of human lives, people, they are not able to survive in that condition and they die out. Loss of domestic cattle, loss of standing crops, when the crops, they are ready for harvesting and the floods, they come, at that time we have a loss of these standing crops, crops which are ready for harvesting. And then food chains are destroyed, as there are no crops no animals could have the crops, and plant eating animals would not be able to survive, then the same goes on, the food chain would be disturbed. So, this was the answer to our second internal question, that is you have to mark all the 7 points over here that are given under effects of flood. So, children, now what will happen if a particular area does not receive rainfall for a long period? These are the extremities of climate, means when it rains heavily there are floods, but when it does not rain for a very long period of time, what do we have? A drought occurs. Now, what is a drought? Means when there is very less rainfall or scanty rainfall, a condition, an abnormally long condition of time when there is no sufficient rainfall. This time period is referred to as drought. This scanty rainfall, it causes a decline in the level of water in the ponds, rivers and all the water bodies, and since the supply of water through the natural phenomena is blocked, means rainfall is our major source of water on the earth. When this natural phenomena is blocked, the groundwater also becomes scarce. The groundwater will also dry up and the soil becomes dry since it continues to lose water through evaporation. Since there is no groundwater, no water, scarcity of water in the water bodies, evaporation will be less and thus crops cannot grow properly. This situation is called as drought, and it makes human life of that region very difficult because it becomes a problematic situation to get food and fodder. Because there is less rainfall, no food is available, crops cannot grow and fodder is also not available, so animals are also not able to survive. Now, how can we come out of this condition? These extremities can be we can come over it, we can go over through these conditions when we conserve nature. All these extremities, they are caused because of human activities. We people are cutting down forest for our building purposes, to construct factories. We are simply cutting down trees and this is disturbing the balance in the nature, and that is why we are having these extremities like floods, tsunamis and droughts, and they cause epidemics. After these floods, we have vast area of vast region of people, number of people, they get suffered from various diseases, and this is known as epidemic. So, to come out from these conditions, we need to conserve nature as well as we need to conserve water. Now, how can we conserve water? There are various ways by which we can conserve water, but first we should understand why we need to conserve water. Plants, animals and human beings, we all use water in the fresh form, means as I told you that water, it is a vital part of our life. So, in spite of the large amount of water present on our earth, only a part of it is available for use, the rest is saline water, and the water consumption, it is increasing day by day with the increase in population. So, we need to conserve it. So, conservation of water is a wise and careful use of water. How can we conserve water? So, we have some ways by which we can conserve water, some strategy for the conservation of water. What should we do? We should use water judicially. Judicially means we should use it wisely. Wherever it is not needed, we can turn off, we can check for leakage in water. So, we can conserve water in this way. Not waste it during domestic consumption. While we are using water at our homes, we shouldn't waste it. Use it where it is needed. Not use drinking water for watering plants. Drinking water, that is clean water, should be used only for drinking. Not throw waste materials in water resources. We should not pollute water resources. By that also we are wasting water. Use water through pipes for watering crops in agriculture. In agriculture purposes, we can use drop irrigation method. Drop irrigation method is a system, it is a micro system where we can save water and nutrients by allowing water to directly enter in, or to slowly it is dripped into the ground to the roots of the plants. So, in this way we can conserve water by using drip irrigation process, by recycling the used water, by constructing wastewater treatment, where the wastewater, it can be converted into water that can be used for our use, and by developing the habit of rainwater harvesting. This is the best way by which we can conserve water. Now, what is rainwater harvesting? Let us understand rainwater harvesting. What is rainwater harvesting? Rainwater harvesting is a simple technique by which we can guide rainwater through bore wells, pits and wells to reach underground. Means we can collect the water of the rains and we can use it, store it and use it for our future use. And this process by which we are collecting rainwater and storing it for our future use is known as rainwater harvesting. It can be done in two ways, by collecting surface water and by collecting roof rainwater. So, roof rainwater is a system where the water is collected from the roofs. The catchments are made to collect roof water. Drainage system is provided to collect this roof water. The rainwater, when it falls on the roofs, it is allowed through the drains, it is allowed to fall in the rain tanks. We have underground rain tanks. For this we need to build underground rain tanks, and water is collected in the rain tanks, and this water can be further used for irrigation purposes or any other domestic use. Other than this collecting roof water, we can collect surface water also. Surface water can be collected through drains, and this can be allowed to pass underground. So, this will increase the level of underground water. In another way, it is a best way of conserving water. So, this was all about conserving water. So, children, we have completed our remaining topics, that is water cycle, drought, floods and conservation of water. So, mark the internal questions and do the bookwork as well, which is provided to you through the PDF. Thank you, children.